Hello and welcome. I want to talk to you about this video is for somebody who's in a relationship or just recently got out of a relationship with somebody who has borderline personality disorder, and I want to share with you something that might help you feel more sane. Because if you are like me, you may have gone through a period of you questioning your own sanity because borderlines are very unique in the way that they interact, and it can be extremely, extremely confusing. And early on, before I became aware that the woman I was dating had borderline, I was questioning my own sanity. I had a, heretofore unfelt big giant ball of anxiety and just this black hole of doubt and insecurity and fear and uh, just it was crazy. I mean, I was feeling like I was going crazy. And what helped me gain my perspective and my sanity back, even though it still took me a while to finally be released from that relationship, um, I had to go online and find out everything I could about borderlines, because that explained, and then finally I realized it wasn't about me, that I wasn't going crazy, that I really was with somebody who was engaging in behaviors that were extremely unusual and harmful in ways I couldn't understand. And that the guilt I was feeling and the a feeling of responsibility and the increasing codependent obsession with them and wanting to fix them and do they love me, and you know it at least helped me understand what that was. So hopefully I can help you with that. So let me just first say, if you are a survivor, and I'm going to use the word survivor, if you are a survivor of being with somebody who has borderline, um, it is very traumatic. They are they are causing you trauma, and the feelings that you have of insecurity, of fear, of obsession, of um, not being good enough and wondering what you need to do to get their love, and will they love you today, and are they going to break up with you today, and all of that, that is coming from, not from you. If you're with them and you've been with them for more than, you know, if you've survived past the initial idealization phase and you've been with them, um, then I can guarantee you there's nothing that you've done to deserve what they're doing. I'm not, probably not perfect, but it's very unlikely. Let's just say that the likelihood is that the majority of the issues are being caused by their disorder and not by you. Because somebody who isn't codependent, and if you are with somebody, you are by definition codependent. Um, if you are with somebody who has borderline, then um, that means that you feel responsible to give to them and to help them, and to, you may even think you're going to be the one that's going to give them the love. In fact, if you're like me, I've had relationships, and my greatest relationship in my life was with a woman who I believe was my soulmate. Unfortunately, she passed away, but she was so wonderful and so beautiful and so loving, and the relationship was so amazing that what ended up happening with me is that what became more important was making her happy. I mean, that's a natural evolution of a truly loving relationship. So you may have experienced this as a result of having gone through the idealization phase, where in the beginning they idealize you and they worship you and adore you and shower love on you with big eyes, and they tell you you're the most amazing, you're the best, you're the one for me, and you're so beautiful, and you do this and you do that. Now, when that happens with somebody who's not a borderline, and that happens over a long period of time, what ends up happening is it creates a devotion within you, and eventually, as in a true relationship, you swap. You become fully devoted to their health and happiness, and you get joy out of seeing them being happy. You truly learn how to give. So if you're in a relationship with a borderline, you are either codependent, which means that you've always gone out looking to please everybody else, you're a people pleaser. And or there may be this very real loving thing within you that gets stimulated as a result of the idealization phase. And the longer the idealization phase, the more attached and the more devoted you will become. So when they start turning on you and they start rejecting you, and the idealization phase never returns anywhere near like it was in the beginning, then what ends up happening is that you start to really doubt yourself, and you start just being totally focused on trying to get back to making them feel good. And it can make you really crazy. And so you need to understand that they are not normal. That is not an attack. It is a fact. They do not have unless they get therapy, borderlines do not have the empathy to love you the same way you love them. They do not have the ability to bond with you the same way you have bonded with them. They do not have the ability to devote themselves to you the way you are devoting yourselves to them. And if you're honest with yourself, you will realize that their love, when it comes, is very impermanent. Like the wind, it comes and it goes. Whereas with somebody who's not borderline, their love comes and it grows and it stays even through challenging experiences, even through fights, even through disagreements. The love never leaves. With a borderline, the moment that their loving feeling leaves them, their love for you also leaves them. Okay? They will never value you as the same way that you value them or other people. They are sociopathic in that they do not have the ability to fully empathize with others. That is not their fault. That is the result of the damage and the trauma that they occurred through neglect or through outright abuse as tiny little infants. So it's not their fault. They're not evil people. They just have not created that ability. That ability can come through prolonged therapy and devotion to their healing. They can get it, or at least, approximate it. But if you're with them and they're untreated, they do not value you. They are most likely are not able to fully devote an exclusive commitment to you. That doesn't mean they can't be exclusive. In my case, she was able to be technically exclusive sexually. But I became aware very quickly that when she said that she loved me, it had no more weight than anybody else. So if anybody else in her life that she said she loved, it wasn't equal. I mean, it was equal. In other words, if she broke up with me, she could then the very next day sleep with another guy without batting an eye. If she chose to be exclusive, I came to the realization it was only because she had chosen to focus her sexual activities with me. But in terms of loving me more than the next guy, or the next girl, her friend, her ex-boyfriend, there was no difference. When she said she loved somebody, it meant she was fond of them in the same way. In fact, while we were together and I was out of the country, when she was going through an anxiety breakdown and was on medication. Her ex-boyfriend came over and slept in the same bed. According to her, they didn't have sex, but she doesn't remember. But I believe her, and I believe that it's okay with her, that the boundaries aren't there because there isn't a difference in their mind. So if you're with them thinking that you are actually special to them, the only specialness you have is if you happen to be in their minds in that phase of their idealizing you. It's not that you're any better or worse, it's that you are making them feel better. Something you're doing making them feel so good that they've made you their favorite. But it's just like saying if you have 5 kids and my favorite is my third born, it doesn't mean that you necessarily love that one any more than the others. It just means that's the one you're kind of focused on right now because you're teaching him how to fish. You are not something super special to them. They will not value you. And if you listen, you will hear the devaluation all the time. They will constantly throw out hits that you're not important, that you don't have any more importance than anybody else. You're really not that special, unless I like you right now because you make me feel good. So you're not crazy. If you feel like why you feel so hurt all the time, it's because you are expecting something they can't give. This is the biggest message of this video. If you are with a borderline and you have hopes that this can turn into a long-term, committed, beautiful, intimate, romantic relationship, let me shatter those dreams for you right now. It will never happen. Because in order for that to happen, one of the things that's necessary is the person has to be able to have you have a higher value for them in terms of their intimacy, in terms of certain things that our spouse should be the most special person in our life in a multiplicity of areas, not just because you're the one I happen to choose for right now, because that's all it is. Even if it lasts for years, which I don't know how that possibly could, but you're not special. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad. You just need to be aware you're not crazy. They're treating you like you're not special because you're not. And you need to understand that you have expectations for them that they cannot fulfill. And what I used to tell myself, as I was getting out and as things were happening, I was trying to help myself understand I'm trying to have a relationship with a borderline and expecting her to love me in the way I love her, and expecting her to understand what I've just shared with her, expecting her to realize how badly she's hurt me, expecting her to make plans and changes and change her behavior is like asking a dog to play chess. The dog may be fully happy to be there with you and have his paws on and may love being around you at the moment if you keep his attention, but he's incapable of playing chess. He doesn't have the ability. He won't ever understand it. One thing I said to my ex when early on when things started happening, we talked about love, and I said, love is not a feeling. She looked at me like I was crazy. I said, love is not a feeling. Love is action. She said, I don't understand that at all. We'll have to talk more about that. She honestly couldn't understand it. Now, the average person can understand that. The non-borderline person can understand that, especially if they're older. Maybe when they're young, they don't get it, they're immature, but as they grow old, they realize that the people who love you are the people who have your back, whom you can call at 4 o'clock in the morning and will be there for you, who even though you've just fought tooth and nail with them last night and you guys had a horrible knockdown, drag-out fight, that the next day they'll still be there for you and take care of you and blow your nose and take you to the doctor. They're still committed to you. They still love you. Love is an action. Love is devotion. Love is earned. Love is not a feeling. You may start with a happy, gushy feeling, but it then turns into day after day after day, these people show their love to you through their commitment, through their actions towards you. Borderlines will never be able to do that consistently. They will fail you. They will fall out of love with you, and they will hurt you. And it will happen when you least expect it. So if you're feeling crazy, you're not. You are with somebody who has an actual mental disease. It's called a disorder for a reason. It's not just that they have issues with their emotions and they're a little bit too sensitive, or that's not it. They actually have a mental illness where there are huge chunks of their ability to relate to you in a mature way have either not been developed or severely damaged or just non-existent. Here's the bottom line. This is what's so confusing. Unlike a narcissist who has it in for you and feels hostile towards you all the time and you are just this thing they're going to devour, they don't have any malice towards you. Like a 2-year-old. They are an emotional 2-year-old. Intellectually, they could be a full-grown PhD, but emotionally, they are a 2-year-old. And so, as a 2-year-old, they don't have the ability to attach to you, to love you, and to interact with you as an adult, because they're not adults emotionally. Their emotional progression in terms of relationships has been arrested at probably the age of 2 years old. And that's who you're dealing with. So if you choose to be in a relationship with them, and listen, I tried to justify to myself once I realized it, because the sex was so amazing and because she was so exciting and so wonderful, and when it was good, and it's like, I'm willing to go through a little bit of this to get some of that. The problem is as time goes on, the idealization phase continues to get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter until it becomes completely non-existent, and you're only in the devaluation phase, and they can't stand you. Eventually they will get to the place where they cannot find a loving feeling for you, and all they will have for you is devaluation, and then you are in for hell. And if they haven't broken up with you and they're with you during that phase, you are in for hell, because they will make you miserable. And you will feel so horrible and so unappreciated and unloved. The other thing is, like a 2-year-old, they will not remember. And sometimes they have like chronic memory issues. But emotionally, they will not remember everything you've done for them. So if you're a codependent, you think, if I just keep giving, if I keep loving, eventually it will accumulate and they will magically realize how amazing I am, and then they will love you back. It will never happen. That is how adults work. 2-year-olds do not have that ability. They can't remember from one moment to the next unless you are making them happy. If you're not dangling the pretty keys in front of their eyes, they lose their infatuation for you. And the moment that you trigger them, they will discard you like an old toy. They loved the toy when they were playing with it and it was fun. They didn't hate the toy. They weren't trying to hurt the toy. The toy was just there for their amusement, and like little kids who fall in love with their toys, once they grow out of it, they throw it away. They will throw you away the moment that you stop stimulating them to feel good. So, you're not crazy. Your feelings are real, and just walk away. Unless they are in therapy and like actively seeking therapy, and you're in like couples counseling with somebody forget about it. Just walk away. There's nothing more you can get. Basically, if you've gone through the idealization phase, the first one, because there are more that will come, but they come in they don't last very long. But the first one that lasts for a couple weeks or a couple of months, You know, just enjoy that you had that. Just enjoy you had the best sex of your life, the best love, the best, you know, somebody cooking food for you and giving you massages and whatever else that they do that makes you know that as they're pouring their love on you. Just know that you got the best and it's over. Only thing that's going to happen now is like a disease, it's going to get worse and worse, and it's going to start destroying you from the inside out. And you're never going to get back to that blissful golden age that you had. It'll never happen. Okay? So, you're not crazy. They have a problem. You don't deserve the feelings that you have.